You know, as Jerry Seinfeld used to say, the world doesn't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you might not be right for some. That rhymed. I was never a fan of Diff'rent strokes. Some may say the humor was a bit too high-brow for my liking. I also didn't like it because my name is Willis. Most people could agree, though, that it was a show. Each and every week, Gary Coleman would charm America with his poise, style, and grace. The show was about two young, underprivileged boys from Harlem who went to live with mean old Mr. Drummond. A lot of people don't know that there is a missing episode of Diff'rent Strokes that only aired once during the show's original syndicated run in the 1970s. The episode briefly aired on Nick at Night before being pulled for being too scary for family audiences. The few people that did manage to see it were likely traumatized for life because of how scary it was. Now, I know a lot of these stories often give you the chills or the feels, as the hipsters say these days, but boy, let me tell you, you're going to spew diarrhea all over the walls when you hear what happens in this one. Oh, I'm not kidding. Listening to this one could very well give you a heart attack. The only person I ever told this story to had a heart attack, and when I went to visit him in the hospital, he would only scream incessantly about how horrifying it was. So, take a deep breath and listen to my terrible tale. I was at a yard sale. Fucking yard sale, go figure. When I noticed the VHS that seemed a little strange. Different from the other VHS tapes that I'd usually purchase at these yard sales. You know, amateur porn, family videos, that kind of thing, but both at the same time. But this tape was a little bit different. The owner of the yard insisted that this wasn't a yard sale and that tape was explicitly not for sale. I did what anyone would do. I waited 3 months, came back in an unmarked van. It did not say free candy on it. Why do people... What is that supposed to mean? No. Broke into his screen door and took the tape. I'd give it back later, but only after having made copies using a special VHS copying device that we call a VCR. I went home, boiled a pot of hot kettle corn, put on my pajamas, and prepared for a night of festive fun with my favorite program, Diff'rent Strokes. Yes, Gary Coleman seemed a little strange on the cover of the VHS, as did Mr. Drummond. Gary Coleman looked to be in his 50s, and Mr. Drummond, he was propped up with a little bit of red liquid dripping from his nose. All of a sudden, I felt some weird numbness in my right arm, radiating outward from the tape itself. I dropped it on the floor, and I swear I saw Gary Coleman's smile on the cover change to a frown. Wait, no. I'd simply dropped it on a marker I kept glued to the ground in case a burglar breaks in. You never know when someone might drop in unexpectedly. Anyway, I put the tape on. The intro played as normal, but then something odd happened. The first thing I noticed was that one of Mr. Drummond's eyes was closed. "A dirk a turkey must rock," he yelled. What did that mean? As I tried to decode what the message meant, Mr. Drummond fell on the floor. I immediately went to call 911, but then I realized this was just a VHS tape. The audience applauded when he entered the room, even though he just fell through the front door. Mrs. Garrett walked in. Oh, thank the good Lord. She could fix his condition. The flaxen-haired maiden waltzed over to the unconscious Mr. Drummond and just stared. She turned, looked directly into the camera at me. Her eyes grew as wide as tea plates. "Work, work, 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 hippo murder!" She choked up a banana peel and opened her mouth to reveal she had swallowed her tongue. I freaked out. You can't act swallowing your tongue, and this was decades before CG or advanced puppeteering could create tongues. She suddenly fell, cracked her head on the dinette set, and laid there. Then young Arnold, portrayed by Gary Coleman, walked in. "Oh my!" Arnold screamed. "Mr. Drummond! Mr. Drummond!" Arnold ran over to Mr. Drummond, stepping on Mrs. Garrett and leaving a comedic shoe print on her breast. I spilled a hot tamale all over my pajama pants. But then, Gary Coleman stopped. Something in him appeared a little bit different. His little boy outfit was frayed. His ocular vision appeared more realistic and bloodshot. And though he was supposed to be an 8-year-old boy, he clearly had visible beard stubble. To call him disheveled would have been an understatement. He turned, smiled at the camera. "Looks like they're having different strokes," he winked, and the VHS exploded. The hot plastic flew out of the VCR. The ribbon snipped and hit me in the jaw. It ricocheted off of my mirror and hit my ball sack like a carefully placed rubber band. I was naked for a different reason. Different stroke. I screamed. The tamale flew backwards, smacking some candies that fell and set both me and my brand new living room rug ablaze. I ran over to the kitchen to put the fire out, but pulled too hard on a faucet handle. A pipe exploded on my head, and I passed out. When I woke up, my house was destroyed by a VHS copy of a Diff'rent Strokes episode from the 1970s. I began to cry, but then I called a plumber. I opened the door to find that the plumber was a little shorter than usual. "Looks like you got the leaky pipes, and ain't I got the only thing that can fix them, mamma mia!" He winked at me and my heart skipped a beat. It was actually Gary Coleman. He was working for I'm a Gassed Inc., a plumbing company, but he had no van. Gary invited himself in. It was weird. He looked slightly older, but he was still the typical Gary Coleman that we all know and love. He drifted onto the couch and began eating potato chips. "What'd you talk about, Willis?" he sneered, though I hadn't said anything. How did you know my name is Willis? I asked him. He winked at me and began fixing my pipes. Or so I thought. By the time Gary Coleman had finished working on my plumbing, I was up to my ankles in raw sewage, tampons, and copies of Newsweek. "What did you do, you little fuckhead?" I screamed. I'd never referred to someone as a little fuck wad before, but Mr. Coleman was seriously agitating me. He paused. His heart was filled with sorrow. He started to get really sad and gave me adorable puppy dog eyes. "I'm sorry, Mr. Drummond. I'm not really a plumber. I just thought maybe you could be seeing how to help an underprivileged midget from Harlem on how to get a leg up in life. I just thought maybe you could find it in your heart to take me in, clean me up, make me your best friend." I sneered. How did he know that my name was Willis Drummond? I don't know, I said. I had a 1-bedroom apartment, so you would have to sleep in my bed and eat breakfast with me. "Oh, please, Mr. Drummond, I'll be quiet, live in your cupboard, and never make a sound. I'll even watch you sleep at night and crawl to the foot of your bed like a baby kitten." Gary winked and smiled, and though I was a jaded, bitter 30-something-year-old man who keeps count anymore, his tiny midget grin immediately melted my heart to butter. Gary Coleman passed through the wall. "And now," I picked up the phone and called the plumbing company. "No need to hire Gary Coleman," I said defiantly to the plumbing company. "He's got a home with me, Willis Drummond." The plumber on the other line was silent. The line went dead. We don't have anyone employed with us named Gary," they said. "No, you know, Gary Coleman, Star of different strokes, for different folks. There was a deep, long pause and my heart skipped a beat. The plumbing representative's voice was a little shakier. Gary Coleman has been dead for 5 years or so. I dropped the phone, and it was one of those old corded phones that swung around my leg. I looked at Gary, who was now clearly a bit more transparent looking. He was eating my Little Debbie snack cakes with a devilish grin, though they were falling through his body half digested. His eyes looked a little more hollow, and looked like some weird white dust was powdering his skin. Gary Coleman strolled into my living room and began watching Diff'rent Strokes, and he was laughing at it. But this was no laughing matter. This was no laughing matter at all. I picked up the remote and shut the TV off. "What you talk about, Willis?" he said again, though I hadn't said a damn thing. "Gary, I want you to go down into the furnace and put some coal in for me." "My name is Arnold Drummond," he said. "Who's Gary Coleman?" A shock crept up my spine as I realized that maybe he didn't know he was dead. Let's play hopscotch, Arnold," I said, doing my best impersonation of Mr. Drummond from the TV show. "Hopscotch? That's my favorite." He started eating an ice cream sundae as I drew hopscotch squares leading down the steps and into the boiling hot furnace. He jumped, hopped, and skipped before he tripped on a comedic banana peel and fell head first into the boiling hot furnace. I slammed the door shut as he screamed. "Let me go, Mr. Drummer! Please, Mr. Drummer! I'll be good this time, Mr. Drummer!" It took all of my might to hold the furnace door shut as Gary Coleman turned to a pile of dust and bones. "What you burning, Bobby?" he squealed, but his jaw had instantly become melted. The tiny skull lay at the edge of the furnace door. I finally knew what he was talking about. I had done it. I had killed the ghost of Gary Coleman. Oh, I thought it was over, in fact. 5 years had passed, and I'd never gone into the furnace to check on the bones of Gary Coleman. I assumed that ghost bones would eventually fade. Well, when winter rolled around, it was time to throw some coal in the old furnace. I swung the door open, horrified. "Gary Coleman!" I screamed. "I'm no longer Gary Coleman," a voice whispered back. I'm Gary Diamondman." Indeed, the heat and pressure of the furnace had turned Mr. Coleman into a Diamond Man. And then a sadness filled my heart that could tear the hearts out of 1,000 kittens and puppies. Diamond Man looked up at me with puppy dog eyes. "I came to you as a young black ghost midget from Undercity Harlem, underprivileged, unloved, seeking the kind of love and affection that only a rich, white, transgender, cis male could give me. And you took this worthless piece of Coleman without realizing that it's what on the inside that counts, Willis. Instead of playing hopscotch, you burned me alive in your furnace." His lips weren't moving because he was made of diamond now. "But I'll tell you what truly burns, Mr. Drummer. Your lack of compunction." Part of me wanted to hug him, but he could not move his arms. The crystallized Diamond Coleman statue sneered at me, and then broke apart into what was probably $20 million worth of diamonds. The tiny colorless spirit drifted up through the cracks in the roof and floated into the heavens as I sat there, appalled. Look, man, look at all those diamonds. I had it all. But there was one thing Mr. Coleman didn't leave me with. A soul.